I 18F felt like I ruined my relationship with my boyfriend 19M over unmet expectations and insecurities. After I said I feel like I'm the man of the relationship, he spiraled, claiming I manipulated him and ruined his mental health. Can we ever fix this? Trigger warning: self-harm, anxiety, depression. I have been in a long-distance relationship for 1 year. We have met in real life and the relationship has gone exceptionally well so far. We were truly inseparable and very close to each other, sharing an unbeatable connection. We spoke every single day and sent each other goodnight paragraphs each night before we fell asleep. Everything was going well until 2 months ago. For some reason, I felt that he was not putting in as much effort as he had in the beginning, partly due to his financial situation. I tried to talk with him about it and asked if he was growing bored of me. For instance, during the third time we met in person, he did not buy me flowers as he had promised. He knows how much flowers mean to me, especially since he had given them to me the previous 2 times. It really hurt me, and I felt as though he was only using empty words. Another significant mistake on my part was when he was planning to visit me for my 18th birthday, and he asked what gift I would like. I desired a gold bracelet priced at €150, and he asked, "Does it really have to be gold?" I replied, I would prefer it because it doesn't tarnish, but if you cannot afford it, you can get me a lipstick." And I sent him some affordable lipstick options since he was financially struggling at the time. He apparently wanted to buy me a bracelet priced at €40, but I typically only wear gold jewelry, so I refused. I would have preferred if he had chosen something within a more acceptable price range. He also wanted to impress my family with a great gift, so I suggested something. I wanted to reassure him, saying, "I will buy the bracelet myself and we will say you bought it. When you have the money, you can pay me back if you want, but there is no rush and no worries." Additionally, I was bothered by his comment, "If this were me 2 years ago, I would have done anything to get it for you," which made me feel unloved. Maybe I was in the wrong, but thinking about it now, I realize how terrible my actions were and it must have hurt him deeply. I am truly sorry, I do not know what was wrong with me. When he visited in person, we had to pay for our own meals and had been saving significantly because he stayed for around 11 days. We constantly limited ourselves and had to count every penny, which made me very stressed and overthink everything. He already works one job, but the pay is minimal, barely enough for us. When he visited for the first time, he got a second job before coming to see me so that he could save more. However, he eventually got tired of it and quit, which made me question his commitment. I know it may sound foolish, but I am incredibly insecure regarding financial matters, and I constantly feel stressed when we do not have enough. We also had to take the bus, which was exhausting since we could not afford a taxi. We were both annoyed and stressed because of this situation. Yes, I spoke to him after everything fell apart when he returned to his country. He became insecure and started to express that I did not appreciate his efforts enough, including the fact that he visits me. I do appreciate it, but I dislike being stressed due to financial issues. I asked him if he would consider working his second job again, and he seemed to resent me for this suggestion. I repeatedly told him that he did not have to work extra and that I prioritized his mental health over money, so if he felt exhausted from it, he should not do it. Yet he still went ahead and worked. This conversation escalated into a massive argument, and he began to withdraw, which was not the first time. Instead of discussing the issue with me, he ran away, which angered me. I told him something along the lines of, "I feel like I am the man in this relationship because I always have to bring you back so we can talk." He became upset over that comment, accusing me of calling him a woman and asserting that I hit his biggest insecurity. He was also very sensitive about being called broke, which I never did. Somehow, he connected these comments to my being the man in the relationship while he was not earning enough money, though I meant it in terms of how we handle fights, not because I am the one with the money. After that argument, he said some terrible things to me, including that he was a normal guy before meeting me and now he is broke because of me. And he only became depressed because of me, as I made him care so much. He accused me of manipulating him, called me delusional, and when I asked why he was insulting me, he told me to take it like a man, called me immature, broke up with me, and then, a day later, returned to apologize. I took him back because I still loved him. Fast forward 2 months later, we saw each other in person again and he appeared fine, everything seemed great. Although we did not have much money, I supported him, offering to cover our expenses since I had some cash. However, he became stubborn and insisted on taking me to his second job, which lasted the entire day and earned him €200. I did not think much of it and was happy he was making money. On the last day of my visit, I found some messages with a girl he had previously dated and had been texting, discussing playing a game together a few times, complimenting her voice despite knowing I was insecure about mine, praising her behavior and other hurtful comments that felt like micro-cheating while we were together, and it broke me. When I confronted him, he apologized, cried, and said it was due to our arguments. Although I was extremely angry, I forgave him. After I returned to my country, things changed as he resumed working his second job. He became significantly colder and more distant. As a very clingy person, I wanted to spend time with him and asked him to quit that job and stick to his first job because I genuinely missed him in our past relationship. He would often remind me that I wanted this and that I made him incredibly insecure, claiming he was now working 24/7 like a real man and that he would buy me an iPhone 16, but the truth is that I do not need that. Maybe I realized this too late, but I truly just needed his time and affection. I recognized my previous mistake and apologized profusely, begging him for a second chance. He then compared himself to a 50-year-old husband who dreads coming home because of his wife, claiming I would not stop messing with his head and calling me dramatic and overreacting. However, my mistake consumed me from the inside. His emotional distance overwhelmed me, and I begged him to be with me, even expressing suicidal thoughts, stating I needed his help. His only response was a reluctant okay, then he left for work, whereas before he would offer his support. I cried and harmed myself to the point where my skin split, and when I drank, I vomited for the first time, which was terrifying. He ghosted me all night, and I messaged him at 4 a.m., still holding on to a shred of hope that he would care. He replied the next morning with, "I can't be responsible for you." I experienced 3 breakdowns, and he remarked, "You are so exhausting." In the end, I pleaded for another chance, and I thought he agreed. Things went relatively well the following week, although I struggled to suppress my desire for his attention and clinginess. I tried to convince myself that things were going okay despite his constant absence. Then it happened again. He returned from work earlier than expected, promising to spend more time with me, and I was thrilled. Ultimately, he only talked about how much he loves his car, sharing that it knows him during both good and bad moments. This hurt me deeply because I was the one who always supported him, helping him out of his alcoholism and depression, while encouraging him to eat again due to an eating disorder when we first met. After he promised to play with me, he then declared he wanted to sleep. I responded with, "Okay, I understand, I will never be your priority," which caused him to become incredibly angry and offended. He went to sleep on bad terms, which crushed me because we had always talked out our arguments. It truly devastated me that he still refused to quit his job solely due to his insecurities and ego. I desired for him to do so for our relationship to thrive, and I wanted the opportunity to discuss things and give him a break from his job because he frequently complained that working 12 hours a day prevents him from being there for me. However, he remained stubborn and insisted that I would not get what I wanted this time. He claimed I was trying to control him and that I must deal with the consequences of my actions. He kept blaming me for my earlier mistake while I pleaded with him to quit for our sake. He also told me that he would not trust me with this issue again and that he could not believe I would call him broke again. He added, "When you call me broke again, I will take a picture of my money stack and send it to you," which made me feel utterly humiliated. Though I acknowledge my mistakes, I genuinely wish to fix things. For that to happen, he needed to make an effort to be vulnerable with me again like he once was. Unfortunately, he refused to do so, becoming highly defensive and accusing me of wanting him weak, attempting to manipulate and control him and calling me selfish. I argued that a genuinely selfish person would make him work to exhaustion and spend all his money in clubs. According to him, letting him work would solve everything and end the blame he directed at me daily for my mistake. However, I was unable to accept this because I wanted to be with him and the situation was eating away at me. Additionally, I knew he was not working for a better life for us. He was working to rebuild his broken ego. I had attempted to help him and longed for one more chance to show him how deeply I regretted my actions, but he insisted, "I will work until my confidence is rebuilt." I responded by explaining that forcing an insecure behavior would only make him feel more insecure, but he did not listen. Moreover, I found it unbearable that he was gone all day. Our communication was minimal, and when he was home, it was usually just time for sleep. I missed the attention I used to receive from him, and I did not understand why everything changed suddenly because he had not acted this way a month ago. He treated me as if I were his biggest enemy. He told me, instead of crying, "Why don't you get a grip and be a good partner, supporting me when I come home exhausted from work?" I asked him, "But who is supporting me?" His response was that he had it 200 times harder than me because I had never worked a day in my life, implying that my feelings were not valid and calling me dramatic and overreactive. Why was he demanding the housewife treatment from me? It had never been this way before. 1 week ago, when we attempted to discuss everything one last time, he became so furious on the call that he started yelling. I told him, "Yell at me like a real man does, right?" and hung up. He retorted, "Provoke me like a real lady does, right?" I expressed my exhaustion with the situation and he told me to leave him. I agreed and broke up with him. 24 hours later, I received a text saying, "I miss you," followed by a brief apology without any intention of change. After 3 days of no contact, I reached out and he appeared sad. I had been cold towards him because I was hurt, telling him, "This is doomed." He then became extremely distant again. Even during arguments, he flipped from expressing care for me to blaming me for my mistake. His response was, "If you say so," showing no inclination to fix anything. I feel like I have done everything possible from my side to mend our relationship. I asked him, "You don't?" And he ghosted me. I am at a loss as to what to do next. I am utterly confused. To anyone who took the time to read this, I appreciate it greatly. Thank you. Story 2. My partner thinks I'm irresponsible for wanting a summer job, but I can't help that I work in a school. You treat me like a child, he said. I feel unappreciated because I show love through chores, not cash. How can we bridge this growing gap? Repost, hi Reddit. I am really struggling with an argument I had with my partner regarding my summer job situation, and it has spiraled into a larger discussion about finances and my contributions to the relationship. I am hoping for some advice or perspective on how to navigate this. For context, we have been together for 7 years and have been living together for about a year. Background, I work for a public school, so I have summers off. This means I typically have 6 to 8 weeks off, depending on when my supervisor needs me back. Unfortunately, I cannot collect unemployment. Last year, we moved into our first apartment or house, which required a lot of work in both the house and yard. Therefore, I decided not to work that summer. My partner and I agreed that this would be the one and only summer I would not work. And during that time, I covered expenses such as groceries, utilities, heating, electricity, and internet, and furniture or decorations for the house, while he would cover rent. To clarify, I did not have a job last summer, but I still paid my portion of the bills, including my student loans. We have continued this arrangement with me paying utilities and groceries while he pays rent. The financial split is not 50-50. It is more like 60-40 because he earns more money than I do, works 2 jobs, and does not have student loans like I do. This setup worked for us, and we did not have any significant issues regarding it. The argument, recently I informed my partner that I plan to start applying for part-time jobs for the summer, working 3 to 4 days a week. My intention was to stay busy while still enjoying some time off. This upset him greatly. He believes it is immature and irresponsible for me not to work full-time over the summer. He also thinks it is unfair to him because he works full-time with very little time off and he dislikes his job while I get a break. I understand his frustration. If the roles were reversed, I would likely feel the same way. However, I tried to explain that it is not entirely my fault that my job has these built-in breaks. I cannot work full-time in a public school over the summer because there is no school. Additionally, I am not asking him to contribute more towards the bills. They remain my responsibility, regardless of my employment status, because either way, I am taking a significant pay cut. However, he does not see it this way, which led to a considerable back and forth. He also believes it is unfair that I get to take a break while he works hard year-round. He thinks we should be striving in our 20s and 30s to prepare ourselves for the future, which is quite contrary to my viewpoint. I believe there is value in enjoying life now, not just saving everything for later. Spending and love languages. The argument shifted to another issue he raised. He feels that I do not spend money on him the way he spends on me. He likes to treat me, taking me to fancy restaurants or buying me nice gifts without prompting. I do not spend as much on him, and he feels unappreciated because of it. This genuinely upset me because I do not express love through purchasing items. My love language is acts of service, such as cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the house. I put in a lot of effort to ensure our home is comfortable, and I consistently do household chores. He helps out too, but I handle most of the cleaning because I am home more often. I do not mind, but all I ask in return is a simple please and thank you, as I dislike being ordered around. When I pointed out that I do offer to pay for meals, it is usually at less expensive places, and I contribute as much as I can. He still felt that I have never treated him to a fancy date. I explained that I am frugal with money due to my upbringing. I came from a background where money was tight, and I learned to be cautious with spending. I do not purchase things for myself unless it is absolutely necessary, but that does not mean I am not spending money on outings and interesting items for the house. The bigger issue, the argument concluded with me in tears because my partner does not feel loved or appreciated due to how much money I spend on him. He stated that he does not feel treated as an equal in the relationship and that he cannot rely on me for anything. This hurt deeply, as I try my best to express my love in other ways, but I find it challenging to understand how he manages finances and what that has to do with us. I told him that the issue is not about whether I work full-time or part-time this summer. There is a deeper issue concerning how we perceive money, contributions, and love. We both agreed that couples therapy might help us address these issues, though he is hesitant about it. I feel like the worst possible girlfriend because despite this entire argument, I still want to work only part-time during the summer. It is my favorite time of year. I love the beach, swimming, gardening, hiking, and exploring nature. The only time I can enjoy my hobbies is during this season. I chose this position in a school specifically to accommodate my summer interests. Now I feel like I am obligated to give them up. I am also terrified of not finding a job, as I fear this argument and any resentment will only intensify. Thus, I am feeling somewhat lost. I know we need to address the root causes of our arguments, but I am unsure how to proceed. How can we find a balance between differing work ethics and financial expectations? How can we communicate better about love languages when they are so dissimilar? And most importantly, how can we rebuild the trust and understanding in our relationship so that finances do not drive us apart? Thank you in advance for any advice. TLDR. My partner and I had a significant argument about my summer job. I work for a public school and have summers off, so last year I did not work to assist with moving and household chores. We agreed that I would pay for utilities and groceries while he covers rent. This year I want to apply for a part-time job over the summer, but he is upset because he believes I am being irresponsible and unfair since he works full-time and has little time off. The argument later shifted to my spending habits. He feels I do not invest as much in him as he does in me. He enjoys treating me, but I express love through acts of service, such as cleaning and cooking. I am frugal with money due to my upbringing, and he feels unappreciated because I do not take him on fancy dates. We ended up feeling distant, and he said I do not treat him as an equal. We agreed to consider couples therapy, but I am uncertain how to move forward. How can we balance differing financial perspectives and love languages?